This is going to be a fun video. I'm going to try and predict what's going to be in the Halloween update, specifically tunes and skins. However, before we do that, you understand that the algorithm sucks ass, correct? So I'm going to need you to go ahead and do your part. Like the video, dweeb. And for those of you that are not regulars on the channel, you can drop it whenever. Okay, first things first, patterns. Quell has released 2 event updates, and in both, you could see consistency. For instance, the tunes themselves. In Dandy's world, you can classify them into 2 categories: inanimate objects and animate beings. In every update, there's 2 of each. You can argue 3 to 1 if you view it differently. Christmas's inanimate objects were Bobette the ornament and Ginger the cookie. Animate characters were Rudy the reindeer and Cole the dog. Cole is interesting because Cole is an inanimate object, but she was turned into a dog that's based off of an animate creature. Easter's inanimate objects are Bassie the basket and Exon the egg. The animate creatures are Flight the butterfly and Coco the bunny. Coco, much like Cole, is based on both. Chocolate bunnies are inanimate, but turned into a real bunny that is an animate creature. Those aren't the only patterns. In every update, there seems to be a sibling. For example, on Christmas, there was Ginger and Cosmo, who are cousins. On Easter, you have Flight and Flutter, who are brother and sister. These tunes are usually related to someone that is outside their respective holidays. I shouldn't even say usually. That is the case currently. But regardless of that, let's talk about the patterns of the mains themselves. Usually, who you would think is a main isn't. For example, instead of the reindeer being the main, it's the object that you use during the holiday, aka Bobette the ornament. In Easter, you'd think it'd be the bunny, but no. Instead, we made the object that you use during the holiday, aka Bassie the basket. These mains have one active, one passive. With that in mind, this can help narrow what we could see on Halloween. If there's more patterns, do let me know. And as a warning, do keep in mind that just because she has demonstrated these patterns, that doesn't mean she has to abide by them. This update could very well be different than the rest. We don't know. But with that out of the way, first things first, the main. Remember, it has to be an object that everyone uses during this holiday. And the first thing that comes to mind is the jack-o'-lantern. It's no contest, by the way. Look up Halloween on Google Images. It's almost nothing but that. It seems a little on the nose for this to be the main, but I think it would make sense. As for their abilities, it's going to be hard to guess. The active should be something like this. This tune boosts a machine permanently. The percentage would have to be low since you don't want this to overshadow Shelly's active. And just for effects, it would be nice if this tune turned the machine's light purple while turning the iCore orange. Good representation of the Halloween colors. If not, keep the machine's color and the iCore black. Works either way. As for their passive so far, the main event tunes help others, so it would be oriented towards helping the tunes. This kind of sounds lame, but I really couldn't think of anything else. If you're near this jack-o'-lantern tune, candy yields greater boost. Could be time, could be percentages, or both. I'm basing this off of Fondant Bag, and the only reason why is because we have Bobette's passive that is similar to Star Pillow, only lessened. I think that would make for a good pattern. One last thing, I think this tune will light up brighter in blackouts since jack-o'-lanterns are used to light up the night. Second tune, another inanimate. My guess is a witch's cauldron. Could be that this tune will work similar to Bassie, but with a huge difference. I think this tune could take items in their inventory, it has to be 3, and will mix them up to produce either boosted items or will create one item of a heightened rarity. It's a nice, cool gimmick in my opinion. We don't really have a tune that could guarantee items in some way. I mean, we have Gigi, but that's a gamble and can vary greatly. I'm thinking this tune can grab 3 items of a certain rarity and mix them. After that, it produces a guaranteed item of the next rarity. It could bounce out of this character's cauldron head and it could be up for grabs, whether it be the tune themselves or an ally. All right, moving on. Next, these tunes have to be animate or previously animate, and I get to why in a second. First, let's figure out the relative. It has to be a tune outside of the event, and The most obvious one is Connie. First of all, we know that Connie was meant for Halloween, but eventually became a regular on the show. Personally, I thought the lore for this character was obvious even before the gossip. However, the gossip confirms this. I think the new tune that we're getting is going to be another ghost. It's possible it could be similar, like in between anime and inanimate, like Connie the Ghost, who's alive and dead at the same time. For instance, zombies, skeletons, and vampires, they fit that theme. I mean, we have Cosmo and Ginger. They're not exactly the same, but within the same theme of being baked goods. Just wanted to put that out there. And speaking of Ginger and Cosmo, what's interesting is that relatives have similar abilities that work differently. Now, Cosmo and Ginger both heal, but Ginger has a higher range. Flight and Flutter both increase movement speed, but Flutters is for herself, while Flights is for others. I think this ghost tune will do something cool, and I'll call it Possession, where they enter into a tune and provide invisibility. It's different because you have to use this on a tune, whereas you cannot use it for yourself. And unrelated, but design-wise, maybe this tune will be green instead of blue. Anywho, last tune. This has to be a tune that you would think could be a main, but isn't. I think it could be a vampire bat. The reason why is because if you look up popular monsters, vampires are quite frequent. If you look up popular animals for Halloween, it's the vampiric bat. The most famous mythology, movie, book monster has to be Dracula, without contest. We also know that Quell scrapped a Halloween tune called Countess. I mean, I can't help but think it's going to be brought back in a different manner than the original idea. As for how this tune will work, I think they have to make it vampiric in origin. We've never really seen a tune that has an ability to affect Twisted stats. So therefore, I think the way this tune will work is by activating a Sanguine ability, where Twisteds around this tune are effective negatively, while the tune itself gains a boost from these Twisteds. Could be a group effect, could be a singular Twisted of their choosing, we don't know, but I would want it to work like that. One final thing, it is mentioned by Dial that Toodles is friends with a tune her age that is really only around Halloween. I think the childlike tune could be this vampire bat. I mean, after all, they're mischievous little creatures, so makes sense. Now, a lot of people would bring up the idea, as I mentioned prior, that Quell has scrapped these tunes forever and would not make it return on Halloween. First of all, she says she'll probably change the character roster. Probably is not a final say. And keep in mind, too, that Quell changes her mind a lot. A lot. Who's to say she won't be using some of these or all these characters for references? Just wanted to bring some closure to that. By the way, here's some potential runner-up tunes that I thought could still very well make it into the game, but ultimately, they're not my primary prediction. First is a skeleton. I said no to this because, well, Hopless. Look, he doesn't own the skeleton, but I can't help but see a pattern among developers from most games that they tend to avoid anything relating to a YouTuber mascot. I'm not sure why they do that, but that's just a pattern that I've seen. So I'm just gonna say no to the skeleton, but there's a possibility. Werewolf is next. I think it could be a great contender. Might be a cool tune that you could ride on for extra movement speed. Next, we have the spider. Simple, just spider webs to slow down the Twisteds. Then we got the candle. I think this is a common object used in Halloween, but hold a, well, no pun intended, candle to the jack-o'-lantern. Next was a piece of candy. I changed my mind on this. I still think this could very well be the main. However, the jack-o'-lantern is just much more of an iconic object. But right next to it has to be candy. So this is either or for me. Finally, we have a gravestone. Couldn't tell you why other than the theme, to be honest. And yeah, those are my guesses for the tunes. Now, onto skins. Now, these skins have to be characters that are optimized, so that lessens the pool. There's really no pattern to skins, as it seems she's upped the amount, so I won't stick to a certain number. We know that 4 skins are guaranteed to be the holiday tunes, so we could talk about those real quick. Jack-o'-lantern will probably be a purple pumpkin. The orange to purple contrast just makes sense. Vampire bat will likely have a Dracula costume. Again, makes sense. She's probably going to be a regular bat on release, but costume-wise, she's going to resemble Dracula in some way. Or a countess, if you will. Cauldron, not really sure on this one, other than changing the color of the liquid and maybe adding a little design to her head. Not sure about that one, but something like that. Last would be Connie's relative, the ghost. I'm thinking a reverse color change. I originally said this toon could be green. Assuming they are, then they'll be getting a blue skin to match Connie. If not, then it'll be the reverse. But that's only assuming that character's even gonna be of that color. If not, I mean, they could easily make a floating devil skin or angel. I don't know. Either or, it works. All right, for the optimized toon. The first optimized toon featured to get a skin, in my opinion, is going to be Connie. Look, man, it's her holiday. She was originally made for this, and she's a ghost. Plus, she's optimized. It's just so on the nose and obvious. You could even guess that. As for the skin, could be a banshee-like look. I mean, imagine shackles and a flowing torn dress would be really dope. Or they could give her a devilish floating look. That'd be nice. All right, next is Boxton. The reason why is because not only was he recently optimized toon, but his head fits so well with another famous monster, and that being Frankenstein. I'm so confident about this one, you have no idea. If I get this wrong, I'm going to be surprised because this would be such a missed opportunity. I mean, imagine adding the bolts, the surgical scars, make them green, give them a bit of hair. I mean, it just fits so well, man. But regardless of that, next we got Yada. Dude, she's the favorite and is also optimized. Also, the reason why I greatly think she's going to get one is because she's of Mexican origin. And in case you haven't heard, Mexicans have their own Halloweenish holiday called Day of the Dead. I think they could easily make an amazing skin for Yada. It would be perfect. I know, she already has too many skins, but again, she would fit perfectly for this holiday. She's annoying, but she's perfect for this. Up next, we got Poppy. She's this very feminine character who's all about dresses and whatnot. I think she'll be a witch. I kind of wanted this to be Tisha instead because, you know, she has a broom. However, she's unoptimized, so unfortunately, no. I mean, they could optimize her on the day and make her a witch, but we haven't seen optimizations implemented on the day of event, so tough luck. Now, that's it for the toons that I'm confident on. These next toons, I'm not so sure about, but I'll talk about them anyways. V, she could easily get a ring reference skin. Just imagine hands coming out of her screen. That would be so dope. Astro, he would pull off a mean Grim Reaper. His nightcap could easily be turned into a cowl. I think personally this is an awesome idea. Easily a contender on this list, for sure. Sprout, he could get a decorative Halloween-like treat. There's many examples on Google, nothing too crazy. And you could add Cosmo in that mix as well. Shelly, her design gives her limitations, but she could pull off a witch as well, like Tisha and Poppy. However, Shelly has this dinosaur theme going on about her, so maybe she'll dress like a pterodactyl. I mean, the way she runs gives room for her to have wings. And not just that, but just add a giant triangle to her head, like how the pterodactyls have, and it would work out so well. And I believe that's it. Yep, that's all that I have for you. I wish I could talk more about this update, but that'll take too much time. If you want a part 2, do let me know. But yeah, with that, I'm going to be calling it here. Goodbye. Goodbye.